everybody. My name is Valerie Montgomery, and I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to join our fall client collaboration. So the purpose of our time today is really it's three different things. We want to support you in your implementation of StepUp's products and services. And two, we want to connect you to each other so that you have this circle of support, some folks you can lean on if you're going through similar things. And then three, we want to learn from each other so that we can share our ideas and our experiences. So this will be a little different than one of our like our guest speakers. This is really, we want you to share ideas. We want you to interrupt. And so today we're going to hear from my colleague, Sue, and she's a recently retired principal. So she has a very fresh perspective on practical ways to support instructional leaders. And she recently created this admin walkthrough form, and I'm really excited for you to see because it is a powerful tool. So Sue, I'm gonna pass it over to you.
Thank you. Hey, as Val said, I'm not going to talk a lot. I'm going to try to be 10 minutes or less. And then I am going to give us a chance to collaborate, just talk to each other, share ideas or thoughts. We might jump into a breakout room just so it's a little more intimate and you can get to know people a little bit better. But I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And, when we're in districts, we are helping educators, but educators are helping us. And when we were in a district this fall, we were talking to a principal that said she took her math book into her observations, and a light bulb went off for me as an administrator, because anytime we can connect dots, it really helps me, and I know it helps our teachers. So just showing you where we are in our step up process. As a client, we start with creating the clear pacing of your priority standards in the management tool. And then we get to step 3, where we come in and we help you create your assessments. Today, we're really stopping on step 4, where how do you use this MAT tool to improve instruction and then facilitate some conversations. And so it really is about being effective, isn't it? I know as a principal, sometimes the hardest thing for me to do is get out of my office. I could get in classrooms real quick and just do a good morning, but really getting in and sitting down, and even for 5 or 10 minutes, sometimes was very difficult. And so we did create a walkthrough form that helps to align effective practices and help you be efficient. So I'm sure some of you recognize this lady. She's our DESE lady. She's on all of our educator growth guides. And so teacher evaluation systems are very important, those growth goals. We've got a screenshot of our curriculum management tool. We've got our Missouri assessment and teaching tool handbook, our scales. And then here's that classroom door that for me was sometimes very hard to get in and sit down. And so I want to show you, just remind you really quickly, I'm going to walk you through our scales, and then I'm going to show you that walkthrough form, and I'm going to put the link in the chat so that you have the walkthrough form, because I want you to have access to it after the call today. Remember, in our scales, it's a 4, 3, 2, 1. 4 being above grade level, 3 is on grade level, 2 is just below where kids are struggling. And so in the 3, I'm going to be referencing these 3.1, 4.1, these are your educator growth goals, where whether you're using the knee or you're referencing this growth guide on DESE for your teacher evaluation system, we're pretty much looking at all the same things. We want teachers to implement the curriculum, and we want them to encourage critical thinking. And so the level 3 on the map does that for us. We unwrap the standard for you, and we give you these sample stems, and we give you a screenshot of what an assessment question might look like. And then the level 2, it's a 2.4 and a 1.1, where we're reteaching on that educator growth guide, and then the academic language piece. And I know you're very familiar with the MATs. I know that you either have them electronically linked to your curriculum management system, or maybe you have the books. And then this is the level 4 and the level 2. And on the educator growth guide, that's differentiation, 2.4 and 3.3. As a principal, I had teachers choose one goal that they wanted to work on, and then I gave them a goal and then the district gave them a goal. And lots of times it was hard for teachers to choose what they wanted to work on. Anytime you can align it to what you're doing in your map books or on your curriculum management tool, it just helps all the stars align for everybody. So here's the walkthrough form. Val, is there any way you could take, let's see, let me get the link. Let me stop sharing just for a moment. I want to be able to give you that link. So give me just, Val, what's the best way for me to put that link in the chat?
How about I'll get it. I'll get it while you talk about it. How's that?
Okay. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. So our walkthrough form, for me as a principal, I just conjured up the best walkthrough forms that I ever used that were very simple. I wanted something on one page. I wanted something that was a checkbox system, so you didn't have to do a lot of writing. And I wanted it to capture that educator growth guide I just referenced in the previous slides. I wanted it to really capture what the map book does for us. And I also wanted to hit any district goals that could be out there. And your district goals don't change from district to district. There's some universal things we're all looking for, right? Like engagement, how many kids are engaged in the room? What's the setup of the room? Can we identify the type of instruction that's happening? So this is a close-up. So let's just walk through this really quickly. So column 1 is your priority standard. And this is EG stands for Educator Growth Guide. So if you wanted to know what Educator Growth Guide it aligns to, I've gone ahead and referenced that in every column. So is it a Missouri Priority Standard or is it a supporting standard? Or can you tell? How do you guys tell what standard is being taught in a classroom? What are you looking for or listening for? When you walk in a classroom and you're observing and the teacher's in the front of the room teaching or at a small group, how do you know if it's a priority standard or supporting standard? Or how do you even know what the standard is?
In the chat, Jennifer said that the teachers post them. Do they post them like on the whiteboard?
That's perfect.
Yes. I mean, there's various ways, but yes, they post them in every classroom.
Perfect. That was a practice that I had as well. I know it's not a practice in every single district. Sometimes they want you to put your lesson plans like in a tub outside of your classroom and the principal can pull the lesson plans. But some way you need to be able to know what is the priority. Sometimes we just have to listen and infer. So here's a place for you to check off and maybe note what the standard is. And then I'm always interested to know, is there a student-friendly I can statement? Or do the kids even understand why they're learning? I know teachers think that's a hoop sometimes that you have to jump through, but the feedback part of it and developing assessment-capable learners was really important to me as a principal. And so I always wanted to know that the students knew why they were learning something. And then in the second column, we're going to get into academic language. Vocabulary is such a focus now, especially with our letters training and everything we know to be true about combining writing and reading. We want to make sure that content, academic specific language is posted somewhere in the room, that the teacher's using it. And the Educator Growth Guide aligns to 1.1. Are the students using it? Are there language frames? Are the kids able to articulate? And that's in your map book on level 2. Is the academic language appropriate if the teacher is reteaching? And so there's a place for you to note. And then the last one is the actual instruction. So how is it being delivered? Is it whole group, small group? Are we conferring? Is it guided? Are they creating an anchor chart together? Is there an assessment? Are we checking for understanding? So usually you'll check 1 or 2 boxes here, and then we're actually counting 18 students out of 20 are engaged, or 3 out of 5 students are engaged, or 5 out of 5. Just kind of noting. And then critical thinking is Educator Growth Guide 4.1. And we're looking for the types of questions. This was an interesting one when we implemented the walkthrough form with some administrators recently. We struggled with this one, listening to the type of questions and deciding, was it a proficient level question like we'd see on the 3 in the mat, or was this more lower level? And was there any evidence of the kids talking to each other? And then how are the students practicing at a proficient level? Are they taking notes? Are they doing a journal prompt? Is it a worksheet or assignment? Is there a graphic organizer? Is it digital? And then evidence of differentiated instruction, educator growth 2.4 or 3.3. Are we tiering instructions, assignments, questioning, or is the grouping intentional? And then what you can't see is at the bottom, there's a place for feedback, next steps, suggestions, and that's all we have. It's one pager, front page. This is my last slide. I told you I was going to go really quickly, but I do want to spend just a moment on this to talk to you about how we typically have implemented this form with Step Up. So we have gone into schools with the form because if you're already a client, the next natural step, if you've got your curriculum management paced and you've got your assessments, is to look at instruction. And so we've met with administrators, we've calibrated expectations on what are we really looking for. And then we go into classrooms together. Obviously, it's very sometimes stressful for teachers if there's a bunch of adults going in with clipboards, right? And so we prepare teachers for that. And we all go in with Post-it notes because you never want to leave a teacher's classroom without putting a positive Post-it note somewhere saying, wow, I really liked your student work display. I can tell you have a great learning environment, whatever the feedback could be that would give teachers the encouragement. And then we start facilitating that feedback loop. What are your suggestions? What would be the first thing you would say to the teacher if you met with them to give them feedback? What's a positive reinforcement you could give them? And then what would you suggest that they do? I know nobody ever trained me on giving feedback and suggestions. It was just something I had to just know from being a teacher for so long and then an instructional coach. And if you haven't gone that path, if you are a new administrator, sometimes giving feedback is daunting because you want to make sure it's worthwhile. And then just modeling for principals, where does that curriculum management tool fit in to what you just did? If you saw someone teaching fractions and decimals and how they fit together, and then we show principals how to go to the curriculum management tool and pull that up for 4th grade. It's November, almost Thanksgiving. Does our scope and sequence say that's where we're at? And what priority standards will be assessed in this unit? And did I see evidence of that? Because that's the whole point of the Step Up products, is to make sure that it's guaranteed and viable and that all the stars align, right? That's the point of it all. And so this is at the point where I'm just going to stop. I'm not going to share anymore. And I'm sure you probably have some initial thoughts or comments, but I think it would be great, Val, if we could get into just 2 breakout rooms. And I just want you to talk to each other about what you saw. Is it something you could see yourself using? Would it be an asset to what you're already doing? Or would it be a hindrance? Are there ways you want us to tweak it to make it better? I know my instructional coach had to drag me out of my office sometimes because I was so chained to my desk on occasion. And getting into classrooms was where my heart was. So if you can get into classrooms with this walkthrough form as a Step Up client, we would love to hear your feedback. So Val, whenever you're ready, we'll be ready.
I'm not sure if I have breakout rooms enabled.
Okay, well, we don't have to do them then.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. We had it all enabled when we had COVID, right? We were all Hollywood Squares and we were all teaching virtually, and that's okay. So this is where we have to be brave and unmute then, and maybe talk. So what are your thoughts about the walkthrough form?
Can you talk to us about how you use it then with teachers?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll be honest with you and say that our next steps, we have not gotten to the point where we have been able to sit down with teachers yet. I know Sarah and I were in a school district where we used a similar walkthrough form just to look at ELA instruction. And we did follow a feedback loop. But I would say for administrators with this form, I would, if I was the principal, I would invite them into my office, and I wouldn't take longer than maybe 5 to 7 minutes, because teachers don't have a lot of time to give you, and you want to make sure you're succinct. And I would pick a priority. What's your priority as a principal? Is it that they're teaching to the priority standards and that it's paced with your CMT, or are you looking for evidence of rigor? And if that's the case, you want to be in that last column. But I would pick one of the 3 columns to start with. I wouldn't try to conquer the whole walkthrough form at this point. And talk to teachers about what you saw, and give them practical suggestions for what you'd like to see next. And if you're in that last column where you're looking at rigor and critical thinking, that's a really good time to have that map book open. Find the scale that references the priority standard they were teaching, and confirm or push to the next level with that map book. So if you know that they're teaching, like we said, fractions and decimals, and you've got your map book, or you can click on the link in your CMT and pull up the scale, say, look, here, I heard you using these exact question stems, which shows me you're teaching at the proficient level. Or you may be saying, I heard you using an awful lot of question stems that were in a level 2, which indicates that we're teaching just below proficiency. Can you talk to me about the why of that? Maybe they have data that shows they need to be doing that. And then I would probe, when do you see yourself getting to the 3? And do you have any students that can get to that level 3? And so I think as a principal, you just have to pick a place and start. You're either going to pick a place in that first column with the standards and the ICANNs, or you're going to go to that last column with the actual instruction. I will say my last year as a principal, last year, we focused on academic language. So I probably would really have focused on that middle column. Is there evidence of content-specific language being used? Is it displayed anywhere? Is the teacher using it? Are the students using? Are they saying plussing, or are they saying we're adding? Great question. I hadn't thought about that before.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything that you'd like to see different on the walkthrough form? Changed, added, make it better? No.
I don't want to suck up all the time, but I'm wondering.
Yeah, please do.
Did you use a model to help you put that together? Like, I'm thinking there, I saw some evidence of maybe some of Marzano's high reliability schools. Did you use a model like that to put it together? No.
I've done enough walkthrough forms in my lifetime, 37 years. I've done a lot of walkthroughs. And so I just thought back to the walkthrough forms that were easiest for me to use as a principal, but also mirrored those high yield instructional strategies, and then referenced the educator growth guide along with our map book. I just kept thinking about what I've been in 3 different districts in my lifetime, thinking about what are those commonalities in every district I've been in that would help our principals that we're serving at Step Up.
Yeah, that's good. Thank
Did we miss anything? You think there's something that we need to add?
No, not necessarily. I just wondered if that was part of your thought process and that's how you ended up with the items that, I mean, but what you're saying makes complete sense.
Okay. Amber, what do you think?
I'm trying to figure out. Okay, so I love the form and I like the simplicity of the form. We do use knee right now. And one of the things that I've talked to my teachers a lot about with Step Up is that this is not a do it, put it on the shelf type of curriculum. I really want it to be something that they're using for lesson planning and that type of thing. And so I love the idea of this, taking the map books in and having those conversations, because then they can see that I truly do believe that this is how we're going to make our curriculum better and utilizing the resources and stuff. The only thing I do like about NE is that it's all digital. And so like it just kind of creates that place for it. I don't have to scan everything in and save it and have a file for the teacher. So that's the only thing that really stands out to me is I love that I can go in and do the knee quickly on my phone. And so then I have my phone and my Post-it notes to write, the notes to the teachers. So, but I do like that this makes, I would think in their brains say that I really do think this is important. I really do want them to continue to work on their curriculum and make sure that they are figuring out, where their priority standards lie and how we're teaching them and that type of thing. So
we actually talked about this at our staff retreat. I said to Val, do we have an app? I think principals need an app on their phone that says Step Up. And I think we need the walkthrough form. I know as a principal, if I could have because I did knee also when I was in Pleasant Hill, I had it on my phone and it was super convenient. Yeah. I hear what you're saying.
Because when I first started, I would have the paper and I have the collection of the teacher's files in my desk drawer that I'm like, I don't even know what to do with some of these now because they've been here for 30 years and their file is,
you just keep passing it on to the next principal. I know, because I just did that. I'm just saying. Yeah, so. I know. Yeah. Right. So, I would say the walkthrough form is a month old. So great suggestions. We're always trying to get better. We'll let you know. Who knows? Maybe in a couple months, we'll tell you, hey, guess what?
There's an app for that.
Yeah. Right. At the least triplicate, right? So that you can just tear it off and hand it to somebody, right? Something I'll throw out there is that when I'm in schools, and I've had the privilege of going with Sarah a lot. She's our other consultant on the call. We're always looking for threads of commonality in buildings. So as a building leader, my hope is that the walkthrough form kind of helps you be able to see those threads of commonality. So as an outsider coming into a building, what do I see in every classroom that's the same? Can I tell what the priorities are for the school and what their beliefs are about students by what I see in the classrooms? There should be something that's common. And so that's why I put anchor charts on there. When Sarah and I created the ELA walkthrough form, we really had some specifics to what we would expect to see in a literacy-rich environment. And we expect to see the same K through 6. And sometimes we've been pleasantly surprised, and sometimes we're left wondering, I wonder what the goals are here. So I think that's something you got to think about as an administrator too. Obviously, you're going to have things that are important to you that aren't on the walkthrough form that you're going to go in and look for. Yeah. Halls and walls speak to what your priorities are as a building leader. Yeah. So other thoughts or questions about the products and how you're using them right now, or the walkthrough form in general, different ways we could implement it? Because our time is not over yet, but it's coming to a close. So I'm wondering what else is on your mind as we, this is kind of a natural ending, isn't it? We come to Thanksgiving break and then we're thinking about, okay, December, I'm wrapping up first semester. And then I'm going to take a breath and I'm going to step back. And as a building leader, I'm going to walk in January with fresh eyes. And beginnings and endings are really important. And so you're ending that first chapter and you're starting the second chapter. And we all know the season that comes in the spring, right? We're all getting ready for the assessment season. So just thoughts that you have as a building leader, successes, things that are going well, things that you're hoping for second semester.
I will say, I think we have a lot of stuff going well, and a lot of positivity. And one of the things I'm excited about is that we kind of are all on the same page about what we want for our building, because we have a daycare. So I consider us a birth through 12th grade building. So, we see these kids for a really long time, and I feel like we're finally on the same page, birth through 12th grade, with some of the stuff that we have going on. So it's a really nice feeling. amongst the staff and the teachers to kind of feel that within the building. It's always kind of been an elementary versus high school type of thing. Like, oh, well, elementary didn't do well with the kids and now we have them. And I'm like, guys, they're all our kids. It doesn't matter where they land in the building. They all belong to us. And it's our responsibility to make sure they're where they're at. And I think we're finally on that same page with a lot of the things we have going on. So I hope that we can continue that through the craziness that is the holiday season, as discipline becomes more of a problem. So.
Well, that's great. That's wonderful. I will say I've been in your building, obviously, you know that, and I have felt that. Yeah, I do feel that. You know, you can feel things when you walk in a building, right? Yeah. Jennifer, were you going to share something with us?
Yeah, we just barely got started in the math books, but teachers are loving it in so many different ways. I anticipate being able to do more with secondary folks. We are not a standards-based grading system at the secondary level. We are standards referenced. So I think this tool can help with that in that direction. And also some of the indicators for NE this year have changed a little bit. And so I guess they're learning more about some of those standards reference progressions, things like that are being put into place, and students are providing evidence of having knowledge about those things and knowing where they are and what's coming next. And that is really exciting work, particularly at the high school level. Our elementaries have been standards-based for a long time, so them being able to use the map books has been a very natural sort of thing for them, I guess. But we're also a member of the SRSN.
Good.
And we're in the ILDZ group. So we're taking it slow. We want to bring lots of folks along and make sure that everybody's on the same page and they're learning and that sort of thing before we decide to do more, you know, and possibly join the SDZ. But I see the map books being able to help with that as well, and being a helpful tool with communicating different things as well. Shauna and I have talked quite a bit about some things. We both got to go on one of those site visits to a district that is doing competency-based education and has been for quite some time successfully. And so I'm excited to see what types of ideas that she has that can support movement, you know, in that direction as well. So that's where we are. We're kind of all over the place trying to grow. We're a continuous improvement district, use data all over the place. So at this point, we're just trying to fine tune some things while also looking at the future and what we can do better for our kids.
Right. I know just enough to be dangerous. I mean, I did sit in on a call, and I know that as I was talking to Val the other day, when I'm working with our elective teachers and we look at that performance-based, that standard-based learning for our junior high, middle school, high school students, we are working to tweak those elective standards. We're trying to collect as many as we can so that we can continue to support the effort of the portrait of a graduate, of students having different options. So Shauna is great at researching and trying to figure it all out. So I'm sure we'll get there as a company. Yes. Yeah. Sarah or Val, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, well, I guess, yes. I just wanted to say thank you guys for sharing that. It's really nice to hear how it's implemented in your building and how you're growing. And then, yeah, I also wanted to mention, as you have a chance to use the walkthrough forms, if you have feedback, if you have ideas of how we could enhance it, definitely let us know. Because like Sue said, this is only about a month old, so we're really kind of in a piloting stage. So, yeah.
Especially if you see ways for us to align it to the knee better. I mean, I know the knee in itself is all encompassing, but if there were ways that we could align the knee more to the mats and the CMTs, we would love to hear your feedback on that. That would be great. Yeah. Sarah, any final thoughts before we go?
I think, I mean, Val said a lot, kind of what I was thinking. I mean, just having you guys reach back out to us after using it, I think that would be, you know, very helpful for Step Up to just kind of see what, you know, using that and getting your feedback. And I think what Amber said, I think, being a previous educator, I think that's exactly right. We want to see these map books being used in the classroom. And as a principal, if you can, help with that and make sure that they're being used to fidelity, I mean, I think that says a lot. So.
Right. So, I always have pie in the sky, and I'm always picturing, that the curriculum management tool will be up and that teachers have the map book open while they're doing their lesson planning. And if they're really doing that, then don't we want to support them with that? Don't we want to give them that encouragement in some way? If it's our feedback form, great. If not, then as we have these collaborative conversations about where are you in your curriculum management tool pacing? Is it working for you? Do we need to tweak anything or move a standard somewhere else? And then, of course, our assessments and how are those aligning? So just making it all works, because it's all about, having clarity for teachers so they can build that collective efficacy and just about enjoying teaching. I loved being a teacher, and it hurts my heart when teachers talk about how burned out they are and how hard it is. So anything that we can do at Step Up to make it easier and retain teachers, I think, is a win for everybody, right? Yeah. Well, I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope you get rest. I hope you do something fun with your family. Yeah. And be sure to reach back out to us, share with other colleagues. The walkthrough form is an option. And then we'll be back in touch. When's our next collaboration, Val?
It'll be in February.
In February. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Yeah. All righty. Well, thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.